Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the Minister of Defense receives his counterpart from Côte d'Ivoire. UN Security Council's vote for a durable ceasefires for Libya. Welcome to our newsroom. To the 33 summit of the African Union, 9 and 10 February 2020, Djibouti has conclusively challenged the results of the procedure of the Committee of Permanent Representative of the African Union. In 2019, the Republic of Djibouti, with the support of many other African countries, openly and vigorously with the support challenges the validity of the deeply flawed outcome of the proceeding of African Union Permanent Representative Committee in August 2019. The decisions of the African Union Executive Council is not to endorse the recommendations of the AUPRSA in 2019 renders manifestly illegitimate and invalid the recommendations of that committee to support Kenya's candidature for the non-permanent UN Security Council in 2021 for the African group in accordance with the Rule 5 of the Rules of Procedure African Union. The EU Executive Council cannot delegate its power to the Permanent Representative Committee in accordance the Executive Councils of the EU through paragraph 6 of its decisions instructed the Permanent Representative of the committee to rule on the candidatures of Djibouti and Kenya while retaining the authority to take the final decisions on this matter. The PRC is to report to the authority to take the final remains recommendations until adopted by the Executive Council. The PRC does not have the power to take final decisions at the 33 African Union Summit. Djibouti successfully and convincingly challenged the PRC's recommendation, citing numerous violations of rules and procedures, of arguing that Djibouti should be the sole candidate of the African Group and African Union for the non-permanent seat on the UNSC in 2021-2022 on the basis of the clear rules on long-standing precedent of the African Group and EU in selecting a candidate. The African Union and the African Group have developed a set of principles and rules enriched in a long tradition codified in the African Group's guidelines for nominations to United Nations organ committee and a specialized agency, and the rules of proceeding the EU Ministerial Committee on Nominations in the international system, which provides objective criteria for selection to the African group seats on the United Nations Security Council. In the light of the foregoings and out of respect for the sovereign equality of state and the rule and procedure governing candidatures to the Security Council and other United Nations organs, in particular the principle of rotation and frequency, Djibouti respectfully invite all member states to support its candidature to the Security Council for the period 2021-2022. The Minister of Defense in charge with the relations of Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohamed Burhan, received yesterday, 12 February 2020, the working visit of the Minister of State of Defense of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, Mr. Hamid Bakayoko. The Ivorian minister was accompanied by the honorary consuls of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire in Djibouti, Mr. Tommy Tayoro Nikos. It was noted that these meetings took place in the presence of the Djiboutian side, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, the Chief of the Staff of General Army, Brigadier General Tahir Ali Mohammed, Chief of Staff of the Defense, the Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, the commanders of the Republican Guard, Colonel Mohammed Jama Douale. This is an opportunity for the Djibouti Minister of Defense to congratulate and welcome his Ivorian counterpart. Mr. Hassan Omar said that he was honored by the first official visit by an Ivorian Minister of Defense. The Djiboutian Minister of Defense, Hassan Omar Mohamed, the Ivorian ministers, Hamid Bakayoko, thanked the Djibouti Minister of Defense for the warm welcome.
The team will create the exam to promote the development of Africa at this summit. The President of Djibouti, who guided the work and allowed us to have very good conclusions. So I'm very happy to come here on a visit and meet and share with you, first of all, the brotherhood. This relationship allows to weave real bridges between these regions, and it states the exchanges of experiences. The relationship between the armies, Ministry of Defense, is already a step of peace in a step of construction of our armies. I see in any case through this visit the beginning of a strong relationship between our armies, that we have things to share, and together we are stronger in the art of advantage, of being able to lean on each other. I am very happy and very impressed with what I have seen here by the quality of the kindness of the beautiful nation. Our Consul General here continues to plead for the rapprochement of our countries in all areas, and I think that we have come here to open the way for more Ivorians to come here in the mutual interest of our people.
The Djiboutian Minister of Defense, Hassan Omar Mohamed, has congratulated and welcomed his Ivorian counterpart that he was honored to receive this first official visit.
Djibouti is located in a region troubled by, among other things, the phenomenon of maritime piracy and terrorist threats from extremist groups such as the Somali gibberish graphic of illegal immigration. It is important to stress that our country enjoys a political and economic stability, and it is thanks to the wise policy of our head of state that we have been able to maintain a favorable socio-economic context in the country and to develop cooperation relations to the fullest. With many friendly countries within the framework of this mission, our country is actively participating in the pacification of Somalia with the deployment since 2011 of 2 troops from 21. Our men have been actively participating alongside friendly forces in the process of restoring peace and stability to Somalia since the first African deployment in Somalia. Djibouti stepped up the military cooperation of the whole country, wishing to establish a link of friendship and mutual aid at the rhythm of international, continental, and regional frameworks. Our objective is to widen the field of our military cooperation. I believe that this ambition of our heads of state and government is perfectly achievable, as long as the required political will finally exist. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you and assure you once again of our commitment to further strengthen our relations of friendship and cooperation.
The Colonel Vice Omar Bogorre, commanders of the Coast Guard, warmly welcomed the premises of the General Directorate, strong delegations of the Industrial Cooperation Division of the Ministry of Defense of the Czech Republic, led by Mr. Tomáš Kopečný, Deputy Ministers of Defense of the Czech Republic, in the presence of the Czech Ambassador Mr. Pavel Meix and the Coast Guard officers. After an important takeover in honor for the Deputy Ministers of Defense of the Czech Republic, Colonel Vice Omar Bogorre received the strong delegation in the reception of to welcome them and to give them an exhaustive On Monday, a ceremony was held at Duda schools to inaugurate school gardens and shelters with 2 improved fireplaces funded by the German embassy. This project started in June with the constructions of the shelter, the improved fireplace and fencing of the garden. The The garden itself started in improving in October. In this garden, all the vegetables used for the canteens have already grown: tomato, corn, onion. The objective is to diversify and give quickly for the children quality meals to the children for the shelters, and the improved stoves is to facilitate to work of the canteen and to fight against deforestation, since with the improved stoves one use less bundles were present at the German embassy. Mrs. Anke Holsten, the representative of the MENFOP, Mohammed Sanarasi, the director of the region, Grada Kader Dable, the head of the school, Catherine department, Miss Saida Wais, as well as the many parents of this school. For his part, the representative of MINFOP, Mohammed Sanarasi, has thanked the effort of the German embassy. Listen to the report.
Remarkable work carried out, of course, with the financial support of Van Damme. The ambassador here presented, of course, initially, which constitutes a garden in school, which I hope that it will supply the school canteen where the young kids from the Duda Pass will benefit from the varied steps.
For her part, the ambassador of Germany to Djibouti, Ms. Anke Holsten, has thanked the Duda people for the warm welcome.
Beaucoup aimé la danse que les filles ont performée, c'était vraiment.
I really like the dance that the girls performed. It was really beautiful. Bravo to the young girls who are going to enjoy the idea of setting up a small school garden here. And I am more than delighted to see the magnificent results today. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and everything. Let's take care of everything that grows so that they contribute to the food of the children here. In addition, as Mr. the Director has already said, this project is really multidimensional. As the children learn what vegetables are, they learn how to raise them and take responsibility for their food. It is very, very important, and it makes them participate in an active life. It educates them to become responsible citizens. So it's really, like I said, multidimensional. So congratulations to all of you.
The International School for Advanced Trainings in Criminal Case Police Practices hosted Wednesday, February 12, a closing ceremony of the fourth class of 6-week International Advanced Investigator Training course. This course, which started on January 6, 2020, brought together 20 trainees from 15 countries in Africa and Indian Ocean, namely Côte d'Ivoire, Madagascar, Benin, Niger, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Gabon, Cameroon, Burundi, Guinea-Conakry, Mauritania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mali, Congo-Brazzaville, and Djibouti. Chaired by the Deputy Prosecutor General, in this case, Mr. Ibrahim Hussein Wa'is, the event was attended by the Prefect of Altas Region, the President of the Regional Council, the Public Prosecutor, the representative of the DGPN, and the Coast Guard, the representative of the Commanderies of Italian Carabinieri, several magistrates, representative of United Nations Systems Organization, and several officers of the National Gendarmerie. The school commander and squadron leader Hussein Mohammed Qayad also gave a speech in which he highlighted the intensity of the training and the assiduity of the trainees. Listen to the report.
Nous sommes réunis pour célébrer la cérémonie de fin.
We celebrated the ceremony of the end of the International Training Course of Improvement in the Practice of the Judicial Police during 6 weeks. The trainees felt well the heaviness and the destiny known as training course, rich in lessons in the field of the judicial police. The trainees of the fourth promotion here present in front of you are 20. Is composed of 15 nationalities. During the training course, they appropriated the tale nor to dispense while implying themselves more in a spirit of openness and willingness to acquire new knowledge. All professionals of interior security in all the forces of the African continent, and even if from the Indian Ocean, namely the National Police, the National Gendarmerie, the Coast Guards, which is also daily effective criminal investigations on the maritime plan, and also to perfect them on the technique of investigation and on the techniques of hearing the catches in the forefront with the teaching materials of the last generations. It is a pleasure for me to attend today the closing ceremony of this refresher course investigators from the first session of the year 2020 to the charming training center within the PK23. All of these countries were able to benefit from the share of the trainees of this PK23 school, which taught them to know how to do it, both on the geological investigations and on research and identification of where it is very important in their respective countries. I hope that the trainees will put benefiting from the knowledge gained during the 6 weeks of training that have certainly been beneficial to them and which it will implement in their return in their respective countries.
On this occasion, the trainees of the graduating class received their diploma on insignia of the school from the officials present on the premises. At the end, the trainees and officials posed for the traditional family photo before being received by Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie. In the honorary room, Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden did not fail to congratulate the trainees for their excellent results and took the opportunity to give each of them a present before inviting them to lunch. As part of the fight against insanitary conditions in Djibouti, in Djibouti City, extensive operations have begun in the capital and several districts of Djibouti City. From now on, anyone discharging sewage and waste onto the public highway will be liable to heavy penalty. It will no longer be tolerated that private individuals deposit their household waste of discharged sewage onto the public highway. To that end, the National Police have undertaken extensive operation to deter users from committing. It should be recalled that this operation will continue in the capital and in the neighborhood of Djibouti City. Cleanliness remains everyone's business. The prefect of Djibouti City, Mr. Ousmane Bile Gire, say anyone discharging sewage and waste onto the public highway will be liable to heavy penalties. It will no longer be tolerated, and that private individuals deposit their household waste and discharge sewage onto the public highway. As part of the Tower of Parliamentarians in the region, to Ali Sabih, the delegation is led by the president of the group, Honorable Hassan Umar Mohammed, is composed of Nouria Waberi, Vice President, Abdou Siki Yediriye, and Safiya Ilmi, Aisha Habib Boko, and Fatuma Muhammad Hamadou, Ismail Sanalase, and Habib Muhammad Ebo, administrative directors of the National Assembly, visit the parliamentary antenna of Ali Sabih, which was launched under the impetus of the parliamentarians of the region who are very involved in permanence, was inaugurated in February 2019. At the end of the first regional parliamentary tower, the local branch intends to act as a link between the inhabitants of the region and their deputies in the National Assembly. Within the framework of the government policy relating to the rapprochement of administration to the citizen, the prefect of the region, Abdul Malik Muhammad Banoita, continues his tour on Monday, February, in the localities of the sub-prefecture of Korangar, namely the village of Korangar, Hamar, and Mulhule. In his trip, the prefect was accompanied by the President of the Regional Council, Mohammed Hamad Ismail, the Chief of Army Corps, Colonel Adan Douale Warsama, and medical team led by the Chief Physician and Educational Advisor to the Minister of National Education. On his arrival, the prefect and his delegation were very warmly welcomed by the sub-prefect of Korangar, Mr. Ahmed Ali Mohammed. For the international scene, United Nations Security Council's vote for a durable ceasefire in Libya. More detail in this report.
For the Berlin Conference, the UN Security Council voted on Wednesday, 12 February, on a resolution called for a durable ceasefire in Libya to succeed the fragile truce observed since January. This is the first resolution of the UN body since the conflict resumed in April 2019. The text, drafted by the United Kingdom, was approved by 14 voters out of 15, with Russia abstaining. It had been the subject of arduous discussions for more than 3 weeks, illustrating persistent divisions in the international community on the Libyan issue, despite the unity displayed at the summit in Berlin on 19 January, attended by the Russian and Turkish presidents, whose countries each support one of the two opposing sides in Libya. The resolution affirms the need for a lasting ceasefire in Libya at the earliest opportunity and without preconditions.
This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.